Yes, you have a mic too. And yeah, use that mic, and at the end, when we have questions, I'm gonna pass around the mic so it can be captured.
How do I turn it on?
Oh, you wanna just use mine?
Sure. That's easier. Hello, everyone. Great to see those of you again who I haven't seen in a while, and awesome to meet or about to meet the rest of you. Thank you for coming out. I'm not sure myself here. Oh, is there a way to turn the these lights off to make this a little more viewable? Just imagine on the.
How's that?
That's probably better, especially if we
I just guessed.
All right, so welcome to this session where you're going to nerd out with me on how AI chatbots are changing the roles of content optimization. This is going to go beyond the traditional SEO tactics, although I will start by saying that those are the foundation of getting found in LLMs or chatbots. It's been just absolutely hysterical over the last year because everyone was like, oh, ChatGPT has web search now, or Google has AI overviews, SEO is dead, it's really dead this time. And so somebody says that every year for some reason, right? Yeah. But no, they're like, no, it really is dead this time. Oh, and by the way, how do I get my website found in ChatGPT? Yeah. Well, starts with search engine optimization, because a little fun fact, which I'll get to, but just as a precursor to this, the AI chatbots, as of now, are just using traditional search engines to search the web for you. So getting found, in short, in AI is getting found in search engines. But there is more to it, and there's more to being preferable, having your content, your website content be preferable to AI chatbots, LLMs, and we're going to get into all of that. So that's basically what I just said. And specifically what we'll cover is the shift to, this is another funny thing over the last year, is like, what the heck are we going to call this? I'm going with AI SEO, but some people are saying GEO for generative engine optimization, LLMO for LLM optimization. I'm just going with AI SEO, whatever the heck you want to call it. It's basically, I'm going with AI SEO, getting found by AI-powered search. So we'll touch upon that a touch more than I just did, and then we'll get into how AI chatbots determine which web content to suggest to users. I think that's important to understand, like the inner workings of how it all happens in the background, so that you can take advantage of knowing how it works to do what it likes, basically. Which also will include how to conducting AI-based topic research and formatting your content to be easily digestible and preferable for AI chatbots to select. So, my formatting got a little bit messed up there, but if you can't read those are supposed to have backgrounds, but if you can't read that, it says search with AI and AI with search. And basically, it's what I just described. Is traditional search engines are adding AI chatbot type functionality, like AI overviews at the top of Google, and if we can call them traditional chatbots, although it's been, over 3 years now since ChatGPT launched, so traditional chatbots are now adding web search functionality. So it's basically all morphing into one thing, whether it came from one direction or the other. Is just search, web search now has AI in it. So LLM is a term that gets tossed around a lot, and if you're not familiar with that, it stands for large language model, which is kind of the technical term for an AI chatbot. So if you used ChatGPT, Gemini, Bing's Copilot, any of those, you've interacted with a chatbot which is powered by an LLM. So you'll hear us kind of like in the industry use these terms interchangeably. LLMs are largely trained and constantly retrained on the content of the internet, amongst other sources, books and other things, but a lot of it is the internet. And what they do is they predict text patterns. So it's a little bit weird to think about, because it's so natural when you talk to these things. You feel like it's almost like thinking and responding. It's actually predicting the next word that is correct given the context. So basically, the same way that your brain right now is probably filling in the blank with blue. without even, like, you didn't even have to think about that. It was just like, the sky is, next word, obviously, is blue. That's actually how these large language models work. So whether it's answering a question or just conversing, it's predicting the next right word in a sentence, basically, at a large scale. So, like I said, your brain just didn't even have to think about that. It just knows that that's what goes next. That's how these LLMs work. So after digesting basically the entirety of the internet, the LLMs perform that fill-in-the-blank exercise to answer a question or converse with you. So why this is important with getting your website content found and recommended by these LLMs is because you got to keep in mind that they answer first. It looks like they're summarizing web search results for you. They actually are answering first with that general knowledge, doing that fill-in-the-blank exercise first, and then going and searching the web for sources to back up what it already said. It took me a bit in my head to like get that, wrap my head around that, because it's like, it just seems counterintuitive. And it looks like, especially on Google with the AI overviews at the top, it really looks like it's summarizing the results for you, especially because a lot of the times the stuff in the top 10 results is what gets cited in the AI overview at the top. But it's actually doing this two-step process. It answers the question with that fill-in-the-blank type text prediction, then goes and looks for websites to back up the points of what it already said. It's actually very similar to what we as humans do when we want to prove a point, right? We say something that we believe to be true. What color is the sky? The sky is blue. Now, if someone said, you need to prove that to me, what might we do? We might go to a search engine and search for some sources, so some scientific facts to back up our statement. And as I said before, that's actually what as of now, I do believe this is evolving as we speak, but as of now, the chatbots are really just going and using Google or Bing or some mix thereof to find the proof to back up what it's saying. So ChatGPT uses Bing as its default search engine, as does Copilot. Gemini obviously uses Google. Claude uses a lesser known search engine, but that has kind of a cult privacy following called Brave. And Perplexity uses blended results from Bing, Google, and a wide variety of other sources like Wikipedia. As it stands right now, they're really just using the search engine for you. So if you want to get found in LLMs, get found in search engines. So let's go deeper than that though, because otherwise this would just be a plain old SEO talk where I would go over all the basics, which I'm not going to do at all. I know you have recently had very good SEO talk from Susan, so bypassing all of that. But know that it all matters, okay? All the foundational stuff definitely still matters for SEO, but we're going to just talk about what to layer on top of that to really appeal to these AI-powered search engines. So back to the sky is blue analogy. Your brain fills in blue as the answer for the blank because of a couple of reasons. One, you hold that opinion yourself. You've also heard others state it. And you know that scientific studies and trust signals and credible resources exist that you could find to back up what you're saying. So again, if you needed to prove that, you would go to search engine, type in something along the lines of proof that the sky is blue, and then you would go through and select what you feel are the most compelling sources and present them to your audience. But here's what to really kind of have stick with you is when you're doing research and looking for sources, where does your brain go? Like, how does your brain assess what's a reputable source? Which one should you pick to help prove your point? Because that's basically what the LLMs are doing when they're providing web links. They've already made a point and they're looking for data to back that up. So I turned this into an acronym to help it be a little easier to remember. I'm calling it CPR. We select sources that are credible, popular, and recent. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's kind of like, in my mind, that's the top three. It's like, is it credible? We're more likely to pick something that backs up our point from like NASA when it comes to talking about the sky, or by someone who has a PhD, than some lesser recognized, less credible source. And we're also going to look at like social proof. So that's where the popular comes in. Like if you had to pick a video to prove your point, you're going to pick one, like the example here, 14 million views. And also there's, I always find myself really focusing on recency as meaning more, I guess, because it's like, yeah, okay, so 15 years ago, some PhD or NASA said the sky is blue, but what have we learned since then? So recency is definitely a factor as well. And then of course, we as humans, but also LLMs do this too, select sources that support our beliefs. It's confirmation bias. So if I'm presented with these two options when doing my research on the point that I want to prove, understanding why the sky is not blue or understanding why the sky is blue, guess which one I'm going to pick. And you will see that happen. I didn't want to include too many screenshots, but I did, when I was pulling screenshots for this, I did a little bit of exercise where it was like proof that the sky is blue, and then it gave me certain results, and then proof that the sky is not blue. And it actually gave me, like, the first one was like questioning, is the sky really blue? Like digging into, is this really real, or is it a facade, or whatever? So it will kind of twist its answer, or its selections of sources to back up the point that it thinks you want to make. But certainly more about like what it is already telling you. So, like I said, they first answer the question based on their own knowledge. They, meaning I'm like personifying them already. They, as the things that they are, the technology, answers the question based on their knowledge, and then looks for the credible, popular, and recent sources to back up the conclusion they already made. That's where the confirmation bias comes in for them. So, if you want AI chatbots to, let's start high level, we'll get into some nitty gritty too, but high level, if you want an AI chatbot to know a fact about your brand and tell that to other people, first of all, I'm gonna pause there and say the one thing you should not do and does not work, that a lot of people think works, is training the chatbot by talking to it. And people think that, like, I've heard this so many times, like, oh, I'm training ChatGPT about my company and my services and my product by telling it all about it. I'm like, oh, God, okay. And what it told me back what I said. Yes, they do have memory, limited, private memory about your own chats. So I always tell people, like, don't take my word for it. Do this exercise. Make up a fake word. Train ChatGPT or some chatbot what your fake word means. Ask it. It will tell you the definition of your fake word back to you, but then ask your friend to ask their ChatGPT what the fake word means. It will not know because that memory is limited and not training data for the LLMs. What is training data for the LLMs is the internet. So if you want the LLMs to know a fact about your brand, put it on your website, first of all. Emphasize, not just put it there, but really emphasize that fact on your own website. But then reinforce that, because remember, sky is blue example, you know, we believe that ourselves, but we know that others believe that too. It's the second part that really makes us just do that fill in the blank type answer, that automatic answer. So it's important to get other reputable sources to talk about your brand that way also. And then third, build those CPR signals, credibility, popularity, and recency to back that up. So real world example, just as your brains say blue for the color of the sky, I have, and I hope it sticks for a while, but as of now, I don't want to jinx myself, knock on wood, I have trained LLMs to associate my company name, Pam Ann Marketing, with woman-owned SEO agency. And it's a niche search, but it is something that a lot of women business owners search for, and so I've made it into the automatic fill-in-the-blank response with the major LLMs for that by doing basically what I just said. You know, I optimized my website with that term, really emphasized that on my own website, described my company that way on other reputable websites as well, and then did the super simple, but definitely not easy, part of building the credibility, the popularity, and the recency of like keeping my website fresh with regularly published articles and publishing things elsewhere, and having a really strong professional bio and credentials, press coverage, winning awards, building a large social following over many years. Like I said, simple but not easy. But in short, like if there's one key thing, well, I'd hope you take away more than one key thing from this, but one of the key things I'd like you to take away from this is that 2026 is going to be about brand building. It's definitely a bigger factor than ever. I've always preached that helps to have a strong social following. There's always been a correlation between content that performs strongly on social media and content that performs well in search engines. And you know, PR, getting inbound links and stuff. There's always help with SEO, but man, like now more than ever, the brand building, truly building a brand for real in the real world, it's gonna matter more than ever, because the search engines took a very simplistic look at that. It would look at your social following or your social signals and content, and they'd look at what other reputable, relevant websites pointed to your website by linking to it. But it kind of stopped there. The LLMs do have this broader like thinking capacity to look at the brand and assess it from that broader perspective of, you know, just how many times have you been mentioned in the news? Like forget links, like even if not linking to your website at all. And just really digging into social content and really understanding like the strength of a brand. So branding is a bigger part of all of this than ever before, whether we decide to call it SEO, LLM, GEO, whatever the heck. It's all getting found, online visibility, like real good old fashioned branding is definitely gotta be center stage in the coming year. Pause there for a quick breath, and since we have a small informal group, any burning questions? We'll of course do formal Q&A at the end, but if anyone has any burning questions right away. All right.
I have a mic that I can pass around to anybody that does have a question, so it's captured on the video. Oh, you do have one, but of course you do.
Yeah, I'm the one. Okay. So how are we, where are things in terms of LLMs well, I have a couple of questions, but we'll start with this one. Understanding, let's say podcasts and audio content and putting that in the mix, and using that as a way of building brand. And when you talk about brand building, I'm assuming you're also talking about personal branding, not just corporate branding.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Yep, personal and corporate, whichever applies, or both, if both are applicable in any given situation. And then, yeah, multimodal, that's something I didn't dig in too much in this particular presentation, but good point to bring up. Search is more multimodal or multimedia than ever before. As it stands right now, like I said, the LLMs are still for the most part relying on the traditional search engines, but the AI that's been baked into the search engines for some years now is getting much better at multimedia. So that is something that the content itself is starting to be better understood than ever. The content, I mean like audio content, video content, and imagery, beyond like alt text. You know, it's like actually starting to be understood by the search engines and certainly by, you know, the LLMs. But simply just having those things for brand building, that's kind of like a separate thing, right? Like the technology of it, yes, is evolving a lot, but also just simply having those things is a brand building.
Okay, one other question that you'll kill me for, but how good or how bad, probably in your opinion, is AI in terms of creating SEO titles, descriptions, tags? How can we rely on that? What do you think about that stuff?
Very, very, very good question, and I'll definitely touch upon this more in the coming bits here, but the short answer would be used sparingly and responsibly for small bits and pieces like those.
Mm-hmm.
I would give that a thumbs up.
Okay, good.
With a big caveat that's coming at the end.
I'll stick around.
So perfect teeing up. Thank
Any
you.
more questions before Pam? What? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
right after.
My question is, first of all, is geo or like generative engine optimization, is it kind of worth it if your SEO isn't great to begin with? And kind of follow up to that, so what is kind of the upside potential of geo compared to SEO?
Great question. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to dig into mostly the AI-based stuff in this presentation, but absolutely the SEO stuff is a foundation. It is like the core. You have to have that before any of this will work. So yeah, to your point, is GEO, whatever we're calling it, worth doing, worth tending to without tending to the basics? No, the basics need to be tended to first. I mean, in short, because as it stands right now, the AIs are simply using traditional search engines to search for what the web links that they're giving. So yeah, definitely got to start with all the traditional stuff. And then for the second part, like I guess you're kind of like leading into what's the like quantifying the upside. Okay, so I mean that's a tricky one because AI overviews at the top of Google have dramatically decreased click-through rates. They've dramatically increased impressions though. So it depends on how you look at that. Is that glass half empty or glass half full? I like to look at it as glass half full because all getting out there, people spend a lot, companies, brands spend a lot of money just to get in front of our eyeballs, right? Coca-Cola billboards and TV Super Bowl commercials and on a smaller scale, display advertising and social media advertising. So those impressions, I feel like count for a lot towards brand building. But, to be fair, losing the clicks, having less clicks coming to your website because of all this AI stuff is obviously a downside. But what's interesting that we're seeing alongside of the trend of impressions going up is the alligator mouth. I have a video online if you follow my socials about the alligator mouth. Alex did a nice edit for me with that. What I mean by that is in Google Search Console, where it shows how often your website's shown in Google versus clicked on, a lot of people are seeing an alligator mouth in their charts where impressions are going up, but clicks are going down. But what's interesting is alongside of that, a lot of cases, not every case, we're seeing conversion rates go up along with it. So you may be getting less clicks to your website, but the ones you are getting are more likely to convert. Can be more likely to, like I said, not all cases, but a lot of cases we're seeing that. So people are still clicking, and it's the people who wanted to take an action. If they just were wondering what color is the sky, they're gonna read the AI overview, they're gonna stop, they're not gonna click. But as it stands right now, you still need to click in order to transact with a business, to purchase something or to reach out to them, make an appointment. It's, so the clicks that you do get are more likely to convert. So long answer to the potential lift or upside, I think is huge. And I think, it's also just Google's world and we just live in it. So if you don't roll with what they're doing, you're gonna get left behind. So you might as well optimize to get found in those AI overviews and these other AI powered chatbot search engine things. All right, so back to the concept of the LLMs answer first and then go looking for sources to back up what they're saying. This requires us to really think a little bit more backwards than ever before. So I explained how if you want the LLMs to know a fact about your brand, the example that I gave, but when we're now talking about like more long form content, such as thought leadership articles, blog articles, etc., it works the same way, but it's much more granular. So basically, I'm sure you've noticed that AI answers are very bulleted, very chunked up, broken up into little tidbits, right? So each and every tidbit of information that it gives is a separate fact that could have, not always does, but could have a separate and different citation to back it up. Citation, meaning web link. So, gone are the days of thinking of a single web page as a single thing to optimize. It's these individual tidbits and chunks of information that are the opportunities to get found. So basically, in the way that AI works, it's called chunking. It's kind of a gross word, but it's called chunking. When an AI digests information, it chunks it up into little tidbits and stores it that way, all mixed up. So imagine like a big Excel spreadsheet, and instead of how traditional search engines store web pages, which is like one row, one whole page of content, next row, one whole page of content. The LLMs use what's called a vector database, and it just takes all those different tidbits, mishmashes them all into different cells, and then reassembles them into answers when you ask it something. So a web page being a single thing in an index still technically is a thing in traditional search, but not in AI-powered search. And so it's just gonna keep going in that direction, even beyond the days where the LLMs are still using the traditional search engines to find the things. It's already kind of even though that's true, it's already just changing the way that we get found. We get found by chunking up our content into, think of it like a brick wall. I like this visual for this. Instead of thinking of a web page as a single thing, you've got to chunk it down into building blocks. Separate sections are all separate opportunities to get found. So you're optimizing It sounds very overwhelming, I know, but in a sense, I find it a little bit more, the way my brain works, a little bit easier to tackle in a sense than optimizing a whole big long thing with big paragraphs. It's like, no, I'm going for this here and that there and this here, and I think it can make it a little bit easier, but I understand it sounds overwhelming. But the thought, the perception is what's important, that we no longer can think of a single web page as a single thing to optimize. It's the building blocks of the page are all separate things to optimize. And an example of that is, I know this is probably really small, but basically it's an example where I ask AI how to do a forensic SEO audit, and it gives, as per usual, bulleted, numbered lists, step-by-step advice. And in this case, the yellow circles are where it picked an article, because I have an article that happened to be, I actually wrote it pre-LLM days, but it happened to be in checklist format, so it lined up nicely with the way the AI wanted to give the answer, and so it cited my site as proof of points 1, 2, and 3. And then other sites, the orange circles are where it linked to other sites to prove its other points. And so only pieces of my article were recommended, essentially. And so basically it's on me now to reverse engineer what it wants to say and go back to my article and revise it to make the points that I didn't make or I didn't make strong enough in order to try to capture more of those other remaining points. I know it looks like spaghetti on the wall or something, but basically it's just, you know, going, this is what reverse engineering the AI answer looks like in practice. Is I'm looking at my article over here and I'm looking at its answer and how it picked other websites other than mine to back up its answer. I'm like, well, I gotta dig into this more. I didn't even say this, I don't even say this, I gotta expand on that. And that's what I mean by reverse engineering the AI's answer. To do this from scratch, if you want to write or rewrite an article about a topic, basically what I recommend is going to Gemini. I picked Gemini because Gemini is the AI that powers the AI overviews at the top of Google, which as of now still does have a 90% search market share. So I do like to go to the source of Google itself. So go to gemini.google.com, ask it about your topic to tell you about the topic that you want to write about. And then there's this little 3-dot thing at the bottom that if you click it, I mean, you'll see the little link icons in there, but this is a nice view. If you click the 3 dots and then you go to double check response, what you'll see is it will go through its response again, it won't change it. It'll kind of like comb through it again and highlight more specifically and obviously where it got which points. And if you click on the link, like this example of weather.gov, if you were to click on that, it would actually take you right to the part, it's like an anchor link, it would take you right to the part of the article that it cited and it highlighted. So you can just kind of see it in action, like see behind the scenes, what site it picked, what sentence it picked, and you can kind of infer why it picked that. Equally important, if not more though, is when it doesn't find a citation to back up something that it said. That I call the golden opportunity for you to write something. Again, just think of not a whole article, but some building block of an article that really emphasizes that point that it seemingly would like to have a citation for that it doesn't know. That's not to say there's no content on the internet that talks about how red light has long, lazy wavelengths. I'm sure there is. But it just didn't seem to find the right combination that it liked of it being, I guess, described that way from a reputable source in the right context, and so it's an opportunity to get found. Obviously, the more niche the topic, the easier the opportunity is. So on top of that reverse engineering exercise, where you're looking at the topic, finding the answer the LLM is going to give, and people are asking me, really, I just have to reverse engineer what it says? Like, what if I want to make more points? Well, yes, of course you can, but it's only going to say what it's going to say, at least as far as right now. Maybe you can convince, your content can convince the LLM to start making a new point about something. But as it stands now, yeah, they're going to answer what they're going to answer, and you're either going to be cited in it or you're not going to be cited in it, so you have to follow their lead. But on top of that, there's other things you can do to make your content more easily digestible, and I can never say those two words back to back, digestible and preferable for AI chatbots to select. So beyond this reverse engine, I can't say that too fast either. Beyond this reverse engineering exercise, there's also some structural things that can make your content much more easily discoverable by LLMs. So, as I said before, LLMs have no choice but to store content just by their design, the way their databases are designed. They have no choice but to store information in tiny tidbits. So whether you break it up for them or not, it's going to make its best attempt to take any content you give it and break it down into tiny chunks. But if you do it for it, it does it a lot more accurately and effectively. And then, therefore, it's more confident in your information because it made sense to it, because it was chunked up. So, gone are the days of writing blog articles like college essays with like 5 to 10 sentences per paragraph and little to no subheadings and just having something look like a term paper when you zoom out. And this is the way to write now. And I know it drives some of my copywriter friends insane. But again, it's Google's world. We just live in it. So if you want to get found, this is the new way. So super, super granular tidbits, 1 to 3 sentences per paragraph. Lots and lots and lots of bulleted lists, numbered lists, lots and lots and lots of subheadings and subheadings to your subheadings and subheadings to your subheadings to your subheadings, as much as makes sense. Obviously, don't do any of this to any kind of ridiculous level just for the sake of doing it, but as much as a topic can be broken down, it should be broken down. AI chatbots / LLMs also absolutely love FAQs because the Q&A format is just kind of the way, it's like their language, just the way they roll. So adding unique and different FAQs to as many different pages on your website as possible is a highly recommended, kind of low-hanging fruit thing to do. It's pretty simple. You can just look at the people also ask section of Google about a topic, and those are the questions that you can go ahead and add to, let's say, your service pages on your website. I do want to clarify that a lot of times I bring this up and people say, well, I already have an FAQ page on my website. I'm not talking about an FAQ page. That's great, that's fine. People love those, that's fine. If you have a high-level FAQ by your company, leave it there. But also go to each individual core page that's about the product that you sell or the service that you do, and add specific FAQs about that page to that page. And FAQs are great to incorporate in long-form content as well. So back to kind of like the blog article style content, using those, since you need to have a lot of headings and subheadings to the subheadings, use the FAQs as your subheadings for your granular content. So kind of weave those in that way. LLMs also really like tables of contents. This is something Alex, who works with me, he's always adding to our clients' sites, is these anchor-linked table of contents. Not on all pages, obviously, but for long-form content like that, thought leadership, articles, blog content type stuff, it should always have, now that you have to have so many different subheadings to subheadings to subheadings, it should always have an anchor-linked table of contents at the top. AI chatbots love that. Personally, I as a human love that too, because I don't want to read the whole thing. A lot of times, we are all moving at a million miles an hour. I like when I'm able to just be like, oh, this is the part I want to read about, click on it, jump to it, which is great for AI discoverability as well. WordPress makes this easy with plugins. The one that we use is Easy Table of Contents by Magazine 3. I'm sure there's other great ones out there as well, but I like that one. It just pop backwards for a second. It lets us customize, like how many levels down do we want to go. We just added this plugin to a site that didn't have too many levels down, and if they did, it was in some structure that didn't make sense. So we were like, yeah, on this site, let's just go 2 levels down. But like on my site, we'll go however 5 levels down. So I like the customization capability of that one. All right, 2 more key points, and then we'll get to Q&A. Another tip on how to make your content AI friendly is to write bluff style. I've been hearing about this. I just realized today when I was looking for screenshots for this is that it's a military term. But I've been hearing a lot about it in terms of AI discoverability. Bottom line up front is what it stands for. It's basically make your main key point immediately at the top of the article, and for each section, because remember, one article is not one thing anymore, it's not a thing, it's a bunch of building blocks, so within each building block, also, get right to the point, make the point right away, then provide the supporting detail. Apparently it's like a military communication thing too, I didn't know that, but it's really like putting your conclusion sentence first, or another similar thing is like the TLDR, too long didn't read, you know, the Reddit style thing, but right at the top. Again, think to the AI structure of its answers, and it's just like, it loves to just answer it directly first and then give all the supporting detail. So if you write your content like that, in small chunks, but with that answer first and then supporting detail, it's gonna do a lot better and getting recommended by AI chatbots. So again, the whole article and each section within it. So you want your key point for your conclusion of the whole thing first, but then in each section, don't forget, they're each individual bricks that can stand on their own and get found on their own now. So in each and every section, you want to start with that clear, succinct statement of what's the key information here that you need to know, and then the supporting detail after that. So here's the part where I'm going to preach about using AI to generate content. So what I asked before about using it for like titles and meta descriptions and things like that, that I can get on board with, but at large, you do not want to. It's so tempting. I know how tempting it is. I'm tempted every day. It's so tempting to have AI write your content for you. It comes out really nice and it's eloquent and it's easy and it's just, but unfortunately, it's not good for your website's discoverability, because it is, people say too, well, oh, I reworded a bit, or I ran it through this other thing that makes it undetectable, but if there's one thing AI is really, really good at, is recognizing other AI-generated content. It's like, oh, this is a match for me and how I word things. And it's just too easily detectable. It's also embedded with like subtle hidden characters sometimes, or even just token patterns, meaning like common word patterns. I'm sure everybody at this point recognizes that long dash, which I didn't even know the name of. It's called an M dash, M dash, emphasis dash, I guess.
It goes out.
That is like a dead giveaway, because nobody uses it quite that way except for AI. So those little clues are just like, it's just too obvious when you put them all together. Even if you do edit, you have to edit it to the point of like editing so much you might as well have written it from the beginning that way yourself. But one of the most important things to remember is that LLMs are actually trained to try to find original sources, because they're trained to try not to create a game of telephone. The last thing an AI wants to do is provide as its proof a source that some other AI generated, because that's just a summary of something else. It's a summary of a summary of a summary, like the game of telephone, things get diluted, and so they're really looking for original content anyway. And on top of that, straight from the horse's mouth, by horse I mean Google, not John Mueller, but Google. Google says they don't want you to do it, and they send some mixed messages, I know. They say, oh, well, you know, in this context or in that context, read between the lines, and I mean, really, like, go read their Google's quality rater guidelines, which isn't technically a literal definition of their algorithm, but it is what they use. They give their human testers to test the efficacy of their algorithm against. So basically, it's what their algorithm is designed around, is these quality rater guidelines. They have revised them in several places, but most notably this one, to state that AI generated the majority of what they call the MC, the main content. The majority of your content is auto or AI generated. It should be rated as lowest quality. So there it is, John Mueller of Google putting it up on the screen. I know there's a lot of debate about it, so I was like, I loved getting this photo. I was like, I'm putting that one in. But used sparingly, used for ideation is great. Create an outline, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I told you before to reverse engineer the answer. So yes, use AI to come up with your content outlines, for sure. Ideas and just any help you need other than straight up writing the whole thing. But title tags, meta descriptions, alt text, I think those kinds of things are fine. That's not like the the beef, the meat of the content, where the AI is really gonna be looking for that firsthand experience. And speaking of that, I'll close out with this. Google's been telling us for many years to demonstrate EAT in our content, which is expertise, or was expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. They have gone ahead and coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, the very year that ChatGPT was released, they formally revised it to EEAT. They added this new E, which is experience. They defined as your personal, human, first-hand, real-world experience. Because, I don't know if you can see what that says, that's a fire hose of bland content, little bits of paper that say bland content. That's what happened the moment ChatGPT got released, was everyone started writing website content with it. It's all bland, generic, it's all repetitive, and immediately Google was like, we need original content out there on the web, so we're gonna tell everyone you now have to talk about your personal, human, real world experience, because that's something that AI just can't replicate for you. So, super important, the new E. So, with that, all of that, I know that was a lot, but hopefully it made sense and some of it sticks with you, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Again, we have the mic, so just raise your hand and I'll come over. Everybody had their questions midway through. Answered
It
everybody.
was either completely overwhelming, everyone's like, dear headlights, I understood none of that, or maybe it all made sense. Just, yeah.
Oh.
You might as well get it to me.
But you got something to say.
All right, yeah, I don't need.
There you go.
So
Yeah, you have to
I
because.
don't need my, oh yeah, because we're taping, okay. So, I'm hearing from web hosts that they're adding a new feature where you can block AI bots from indexing, if that's the right word now, who knows, content. Is that, have you heard that kind of thing? Or can you just use robots, the robots file, or what? What are you hearing about that?
Robots XTs.
Yeah, awesome question.
Because I don't like to write something and then have it all just eat, you know. I mean, I don't really care, but you know.
Well, but so that's my instant reaction is, why would you not want it to find and recommend
Well, it
your
depends.
content? I know, that's-
Well, but for the purposes of yeah, but for the purposes of just feeding the machine, I don't want, you know, content to be, or there might be companies that don't, because I write for web hosts, they may not want that content used.
Yes, understood. Yes, from the copyright
Right.
perspective, from the training data
Yeah, training. There you go.
perspective. Right, so there's different perspectives there. So you're absolutely right. It definitely depends
Right.
on what perspective you're looking at. This entire presentation was about like the getting found,
Right.
I want my articles to get
Right.
found. I want my website service pages to get found. So therefore, they have to be consumed by the LLM in order to get found. Now, the copyright angle, that is different. There's just a bazillion lawsuits going on now, like New York Times is suing OpenAI, is one of the most famous ones that's still ongoing, where they are like, you trained this thing using our copyrighted content, and that's not okay. So from that perspective, yes, things are being developed, particularly for publishers who have been hit the hardest by this whole AI overview, reduced click-through rate thing, where there's technologies being looked at for how to tell the AI bots that they can or cannot crawl your content for training. So again, we've switched gears, not for the discoverability, because if you put something on your public website, it's not a subscription thing or anything, like, if it's indexed in a search engine, it's gonna be found by AI. But if you're putting other kind of content out there and it's getting, despite your best efforts, it's, you know, it's supposed to be paywalled, or it's supposed to be behind some kind of a login or whatever, gated is what I was looking for, and it's still getting picked up by them. Yeah, there's no like clear answer right now. There's a couple of different technologies being looked at for how you can tell the AIs like yes or no, you're allowed to or not allowed to.
Right.
Yes, you could try using robots set text right now. The efficacy is whether they'll respect it.
Yes.
Meh.
So you can't, in other words, you can't separate SEO, like traditional SEO getting found in Google, like, from AI indexing or AI bots.
As of now, no, because as it stands now, really the AI chatbots are just using the search engines to find and recommend web links. I do believe they're working on their own indexing and a whole different method of this. Also, another thing coming right around the corner is AI browsers. So the whole web browsing experience is it's gonna change
Google's already got
significantly.
it. Chrome's got it already.
Yeah, Perplexity's got one out, OpenAI's got it, so yeah, that's coming around the corner too. But the other thing to keep an eye on, two other technologies with that regard are LLMs.txt, LLMs.text.
So what is that?
It's a proposed protocol for basically the equivalent of robots.txt, but for AI crawlers.
Ah.
Why they need a different one doesn't really make too much sense to me. It's not been formally adopted by any major one that I know of right now. So as far as I'm aware, like some websites have putting up these LLMs.txt files, but no main company, Claude or OpenAI.
They might have different sitemaps on there.
I guess.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but why couldn't you do that in robots.txt? I don't
Maybe
know.
you wanna
My
highlight different
prediction
things.
would be, this is just a wild guess, but my prediction would be it's just gonna come right back around to robots.txt getting its use case expanded.
She's answering my question.
But, yeah, or LLMs.txt becomes a thing, but it's not formally supported as it stands right now. So the other technology to keep an eye out for is what Cloudflare is doing. I actually got really angry when they first did this, or they said they did it and then they didn't, or whatever. Anyway, if you use Cloudflare as a CDN, which we do because page speed for back to traditional SEO is a strong, technical SEO factor, and CDNs can help with that. So we have pretty much all of our clients set up on Cloudflare because it's free and it works well. Well, they just decided that we're going to just block all AI bots from all of our clients' sites. Like, I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, I don't want that. I panicked. And so thankfully they either reversed it immediately or they didn't go through with it after that announcement. But that announcement made my heart skip several beats because I was like, oh my God, like they don't have the right to decide. I'm the one as the website owner has the right to decide if I want AI bots to be allowed to crawl on my content and serve it up or be trained on it. That should be up to me. So thankfully it looks like they didn't force it to be implemented for all of their people, but they did put a control in there. So you can go into Cloudflare and say, block all known AI bots from my site. Problem is right now, it's like you can't specify for what.
Right.
Like I would like to be able to say, yeah, I have some gated content. I have some, paid downloads or whatever, and I want to block those types of files from AI discoverability and training. And then the rest of it, maybe I want to block from training, but not from discoverability. That level of granularity is not there yet. But they're working with some of the real big publishers, like New York Times, I think, but of that level, on premium pricing plans, where you can say, yes, I want to allow the AI chatbots to crawl and train on my data, but they have to pay me a royalty or licensing fee of X amount per word token. I don't know, the technology's not fully developed yet, but that's something to keep an eye on as well. I know it's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. So I guess I touched upon
You got it.
your question.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for such a comprehensive presentation, because when you were talking, I thought, oh, also she didn't mention table of the contents, and you did, so thank you. So I have a question about, you did mention chunking, right? That when we write a blog, a post, we should focus on chunking and presenting information in bullet points and etc., right? But also from traditional point of view and SEO and experience that you mentioned, right? We know that to make the post more readable, it should read as a text, right? It should read as a post, it should read as because I think for experience, you don't want to read bullet points, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So this is a conflict. Like, okay, so when you write a post, and I know that answer in the way that like, okay, so you make it readable and maybe you make it a middle ground, right? doing some bullet points and all of that. But I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about that when you work with the clients or businesses? When they ask you, okay, how do we write a post? Like, do we make it more readable and more like, okay, more than 1,000 words, right? That was the old rule. So is it the same old rule now? Because we still notice as a business that our longer posts, let's say, they still get some traction because again, that increases the session per website, right? That's reading, that's experience. So what's your point on that? And do you have this like a little bit of a conflicting?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
definitely. I realized like the almost hypocrisy in the presentation that I just gave, in that I was like, you can't put out bland AI generated content that looks like every other bland AI generated article, but make sure it looks like a bland AI generated article. You have to write it, but make it look like that. Yes, I see the irony there for sure. Yeah, you want to publish stuff that doesn't look like an AI generated answer for thought leadership purposes and really telling in depth real world experience, word count, etc. But at the same time, we have to work with the way that they work, which is in chunks. So you hit upon it already. The happy medium, if there's a happy medium in there somewhere, is what I would recommend. Obviously, I chose examples for the screenshots here where I really wrote really granularly in some of those articles. I don't always write that way, completely that granularly. You know, I try to mix it up and make it look not written by or for AI, but written for AI. So yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. I hope that it gets better. You know, as it stands right now, the LLM chunking is very kind of rudimentary, and we do have to chunk it down like really granularly. I'm hoping that that'll evolve and we won't have to do it quite so literally anymore, and can bring back some of the long. I've had these debates too with like a copywriter friend of mine. She's like going off her rocker right now. She's like, I can't write like this. I know, I get it, but you gotta like find some happy medium.
Is there a way to get the best of both worlds where like on the screen you see something that's for human readable but some sort of metadata that AI can pick up on?
Oh, I wish.
That would be awesome.
I really do. Maybe. I mean,
Try it out, see if it works.
with AI browsers around the corner, I could
Wonderful.
envision something like that, like the machine version of the content versus the human version. Or
Hey AI, this part's for you. Hit it.
Exactly. I would love for that to become a thing. Maybe that becomes part of a use case for
I mean,
LLMs.
yeah,
sometimes.
do like the job twice or, but you know, whatever.
I know, right? Yeah, as if we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have enough to do.
I did think of another question.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How about measurability? How do you know how well your site is doing on AI search?
Ah, excellent question.
That's a big question, I know.
Yes. Well, so it's really difficult within the, I guess I'll call them like kind of the walled off chatbots, like the separate chatbots, like chatgpt.com, gemini.google.com, copilot.microsoft.com. Really hard to have any visibility within there. There's all sorts of tools popping up that say that they monitor your brand mentions, but some of them are like old school keyword ranker style, like you have to put the phrase in that you want to track, and who can imagine all the different ways that someone might ask a chatbot something. So there's some brand tracking tools coming out though, where you can at least put your brand name in and say, monitor how many times you see my brand name come up in these chatbots, which I still doubt the efficacy of because they don't let you crawl the entirety of the any of private chats. So it's really just gotta be these tools are just doing test chats and reporting to you the results of their test chats. What they're testing on exactly, some of them you can control, some of them you can't. Unfortunately, you know, there's very little visibility into those. What we can see is in Google and Bing, the AI overviews at the top. The traditional rank track, most of the traditional SEO rank tracking, keyword tracking tools have evolved to be able to report to you on what key phrases you are in the AI overviews at the top for. And chances are, if you're in that AI overview at the top of Google or Bing, you're probably gonna make it into ChatGPT's response, Claude's response, etc. So that's what we're using as our main KPI, is the appearance of keywords that our clients are getting found for in the AI overviews. Particularly the ones, though, that we're looking for are the low-hanging fruit opportunities, where they have a keyword ranking on the first page or two, but not yet in the AI overview. We track that as well. So the AI overview exists. Well, first of all, it exists. So not all keywords, a lot of them do, but not all keywords at this moment trigger an AI overview. So A, does it have one? B, are we in it? And so we developed a Looker Studio report for that to highlight, or literally like flag them with the word opportunity. When there is an AI overview, we are on the first page or two of regular results, but not in the AI overview. That's usually a real low-hanging fruit, like quick tweak you can make to the content to satisfy what the LLM wants to say, and reverse engineering, giving it its confirmation bias with content that's already ranking well. So we're using, number of AI overview rankings, and we developed like a percentage of visibility. So like the proportion of ones that exist that we're in versus not in. If that makes sense. I forgot to touch upon word count before too. You mentioned word count. I wanted to hit on that. Even before all of this AI-powered search, LLM search stuff, the AI, there's always been AI in search in the form of machine learning, right? Like the back end kind of stuff, right? So it's this more front end, like generative AI, chatbot type functionality that's new. But the AI that's kind of baked into the search engine algorithms that has been there for years from a machine learning perspective, thankfully, even before this, over the last handful of years, it's gotten better at determining what's appropriate content length given the topic. So we do still say, just for simplicity's sake, like 1,000 words or more, 1,000, 1,500 or more. But really, when we're really looking at an opportunity, we're looking at like what content is already ranking for that topic, how long are those top 10 articles? That's the average word count that we need to go to for that topic. Because certain complex topics warrant a lot of words, other simpler ones don't. So thankfully that's gotten like a bit dynamic. It's gotten smarter at that.
Oh, that's a good question.
Take one more question, because we're getting close to them kicking us out. So.
Oh, is it really?
We're getting those 15
Oh my
minutes,
goodness.
but
Wow.
about 10 minutes are going to come kick us out.
With the importance of experiential content and the fragmenting of sort of the formatting, how is this affecting what was in the past a high priority, which is keywords and keyword density in particular?
That's also a really good and ever-changing point that the AI, the machine learning AI, I think was getting better at even before all of this. All right, so let me rewind then. As far as keyword density, what we're talking about is like the number of times you use your target keyword in an article and your target secondary keywords, like your semantic supporting words. Largely, as far as like the primary phrases go that we're working into the title and is the main theme of the article, that really hasn't changed. We're still saying like 1 time per 100 words, not to exceed 2 times per 100 words, so that you're not stuffing. It's just kind of like you have to say it enough, like to make it clear that that's what the topic is about without being repetitive. So from a primary keyword perspective and from the perspective of one article still being one thing in the eyes of traditional search engines, nothing really has changed other than like with the secondary keywords. I think the AI, the machine learning AI baked into the back end of the search algorithm has gotten better at understanding context. So you don't have to be as literal with like every single secondary phrase that might be related to the topic. Like I think it's gotten a little smarter in that sense. But the chunking is really the big difference. That's where like, it's almost like each section, each building block of the article should have its own primary keyword. We're still calling them secondary keywords because we don't want to confuse people with like telling them to put them in the title and all throughout the article. But you can kind of think of it as having a target keyword for each chunk of the article. So in that sense, I'd say it's changed and is still changing. This stuff evolving, I should say. I just said in the beginning that I wouldn't say that SEO changes, and then I said it changes. It evolves. It gets more complex. Yeah. We're
I just got
kicked out.
5 minutes. So.
All right.
Thank you
Well,
so much,
Thank you
Pam.
guys so much for having me.